centuries, mankind has been fascinated with realms outside of our conscious awareness. Through a series of interviews with practitioners, guest speakers, and experts, Liberate the Podcast covers all that and more. From health and holistic healing to the supernatural, we aim to educate, motivate, inspire, and liberate your consciousness. Hi, welcome to another episode of Liberate the Podcast. Today we're bringing in one of the customers that stumbled into the store, Talia. She is a private chef, but it's not just a private chef that, cooks delicious foods. She really puts intention and focus into different dietary needs and specializes in foods for the individual based on health, nutrition, well-being, and balance. And so I want to bring her in because food is so important in your health and your lifestyle and your energy. It helps fuel you. It's the byproduct of everything. It's our fuel for our body. And a lot of people don't understand food, and they don't understand the different dynamics and ways of which food can affect and help and assist them in their life. So Talia, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So do you want to share a little bit about yourself, a little maybe more introduction?
Yeah, sure. So I work here in LA as a personal chef. I've been cooking professionally for a few years, but I've been cooking and eating my entire life.
Wow, what do you know? Cooking and eating their entire life. Well, the cooking part, but eating, I'd hope that you've been eating your entire life.
Yes, I'm a good eater. In my experience, eating is just as important as cooking. The two go hand in hand. I don't just cook to feed other people. I cook to feed myself, to feed people that I love, and it's the biggest aspect of my life. And it's been the biggest theme in my entire life.
I love that. What inspired you to start to do this professionally?
Well, I grew up in a very food-centric household. My father was the cook of the house, and he is an amazing chef, incredibly talented, and we grew up eating all sorts of global cuisine. We weren't the type of family that had, meatloaf or whatever traditional American foods people were eating. My dad was always making different, Southeast Asian curries and all sorts of delicious food, and I would always help him growing up, and sort of eating together, going out to eat was a big part of our relationship, and cooking together. And my life definitely took a different path, before I found cooking professionally, but now that I'm here, I'm glad I made it.
Nice. And that's I want to highlight when I was hearing you talk for a moment. It's another aspect that I didn't say in the intro, that how food is really the glue that binds us. It's the glue and the fabric that binds different cultures. It bonds people in the family, loved ones. It's this shared experience of love and connection and connectivity. And so it's beautiful that you had this bond and this relationship with your father and all of these memories around cooking. And you didn't start out doing that professionally, but found your way back into that love and that aspect.
Yes, definitely. I think of cooking as a huge act of love, whether I'm doing it for someone who I directly, my boyfriend, like someone I love in my life, or friends, or, someone who I don't know as well. I sometimes bake a lot for a restaurant in Highland Park, and even that I consider an act of love, even though I might not be seeing the person who's eating it. I still put this energy into the food that requires a lot of my concentration, and I like to think of that going out in the world, whether I see the direct effects or not.
I love that. In that dynamic, I've always kind of, food is energy, but it also has and takes on the energy of the person that makes it. So if somebody's coming in with a loving heart, I feel like that energy, at least it's in my belief, that energy translates and transforms that food and that meal. And the same thing on the negative aspect, if somebody's hating cooking or preparing and they're bringing negativity and anger, that food gets tainted with that. Would you feel that?
Absolutely. I mean, it's why, you feel so amazing after a home-cooked meal, whether the person is a professional chef or just an everyday cook, you feel that intention that was put in the meal. And whereas if you buy, a box of frozen food that's been made by a machine in some factory far away and has had no human touch, you're not going to feel that same sort of energy. You're going to feel, you might feel full, but you might feel sort of a sense of nothingness, or at least for me, when I eat foods like that, which, are few and far between, you don't feel that sense of nourishment.
Yeah. Now, I couldn't agree more. And do you ever get sick of cooking for yourself, though? I mean, I gotta ask. I mean, like, if you're cooking for others all the time, like, is there ever like, I just want somebody to cook for me?
I do have those moments. I absolutely do. There are days when I'm, I just want to go out to eat and not have to worry about it. But it's funny, you think I would get sick of it, but I still, if I have free time, I still spend it cooking. I still,
That's when you know that you're doing and living your passion, right?
Exactly.
To me, people always ask me, clients, individuals, people I mentor, they always ask, they say this whole notion of work and this misbelief or this misperception that work needs to be difficult or hard. And you really, when you listen to your heart and you find your calling, that it's the thing that you do even when you don't have to. It's a part of you. It becomes this. You can't not do it, right? You do it in your sleep, you do it in the, you're thinking of recipes, you're thinking of other stuff, and that's when you're in complete alignment. And when you're in that alignment, the doors open for success in many different ways. So I think that if people just trusted that more.
Absolutely.
Now, talk to me a little bit, because you're not just like, your typical private chef that is just cooking these meals or whatnot. You actually specialize in really looking at what people need, right? And the nutrition, and I know that you're not a nutritionist, but the diets, the different elements. Can we explain a little bit more on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I strongly believe that the foods people eat, their diets are very particular to that person. You hear a lot about, you hear a lot online or in certain circles about, this is the best diet, whether it's Whole30 or Paleo or gluten-free. You hear about people saying this is the best way to eat, nutritionists now say you shouldn't eat X, Y, or Z. And sure, that might be true for some people, but it doesn't work for everyone. And everyone's body is so different and individual. We are our own person, and we all need different diets from one another. So what works for one person does not work for another. I personally eat a diet that a lot of people wouldn't be into or wouldn't work for their body, and same goes for them. So whenever I work with people, I really try to get to know them, which is one of the best parts of cooking for people, is to get to know them and to figure out what they need to make themselves feel as good as possible, which is going to be completely different from the next person.
I love that. So not only making delicious food, but having that conscious effort of, one, putting that love into it, but also guiding them towards what they need to, do you ever look at like situations or dynamics in their life that maybe they need help with? Like if somebody's really fatigued, do you focus on, foods that are going to give them energy and stuff like that,
Absolutely. Fatigue is something I deal with a lot, actually. It's something I've sort of struggled with my whole life, is often getting tired easily or feeling a lack of energy, and the diet I eat definitely can enhance that, or it can detract from that. So figuring out where people are feeling that lack of nourishment, whether it's fatigue or if they're struggling with weight or illness or mental illness. It can all be facilitated by eating food that's gonna nourish them in the way they need it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you. Agree with you more. I've been creating a cooking show, and it's about taking that and understanding and having people see these different types of foods and meals and ways that they can really benefit, no matter where they are and no matter what they have. Now, that's not saying that, we're not here to say everything can be cured by just the food. I mean, there's a different balance in Western medicine mixed in with, the nutrition and diet, but it's amazing how much can be corrected and solved from your diet.
Mm-hmm. And just from being conscious of it, just like we might be conscious of how much we exercise or how much we sleep, being conscious of how we eat and what decisions guide that help.
Can you tell me and share with everybody a couple maybe stories of some clients? I mean, of course, no names and stuff, but about shifts and changes that you've seen as a result of them working with you and, you gearing their foods and...
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people have been struggling with, whether or not to eat meat, what with how difficult it can be on the environment and on our bodies. And, you see a lot of people either trying to incorporate a lot of meat, whether it's like paleo diets or trying to get away from that on more vegetarian diets. And I've seen the effects of how adding in meat or taking away it can really help, or it could hurt someone. Some people need that extra boost of protein and the minerals and vitamins that meat can provide for people. And when it's sustainably raised, if you're willing to sort of shell out the money to make those decisions in the meat you're eating, it can be incredibly helpful. Also gluten is a big thing for people, whether they think it is or not. Some people do have celiacs and some people, and therefore can't have gluten at all. And then, you see a lot of people who are trying to stay away from gluten. And in my experience, if you're not, if you don't have celiacs or you don't have any level of gluten intolerance, then gluten is actually okay. Obviously you don't want to be packing your body full of carbs if that's not, the best thing for your body. But I think this general fear of gluten has gone a little far.
I know, it's everywhere. You go into any grocery store. It used to be just specialty stores where you would be able to find like gluten-free bread and stuff, but now at your regular grocery store and a lot of restaurants have a double menu. Here's one that's this and here's the gluten-free menu, and and I know as somebody that I have Crohn's disease, so I would have lots of inflammation, and so I had to cut it down and stuff like that. But healing and working with using nutrition to kind of heal myself and heal that disease from my life is now I'm fine. I can go out and have pasta and pizza and different things like that.
That's amazing.
And I'm like, yes, love this.
Yeah, it's a true testament that people can heal themselves through food. And furthermore, I think this awareness of all these new diets, it can be overwhelming and feel restricting, but I also think it's kind of opened up a world of possibilities for people who do have to eat elimination diets. They now have more places they can eat and more awareness regarding cross-contamination or just more options.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food in the entire world is probably pasta.
Pasta.
I am.
So yeah, I was sensing this, especially with the gluten topic, and you're like, well, gluten's fine.
It's interesting. So recently I've gotten a little more into studying Ayurveda, which I mentioned to you previously, and it really opened up my eyes to why I am the way I am. All the things, all my characteristics or quirks or different things I liked or didn't like to eat, or qualities of food that I liked, or textures. It all suddenly was explained to me, through learning about Ayurveda and learning about my dosha, like my mind-body type.
Okay. Let's go into that a little bit more. For those that don't know this term, Ayurvedic, it's an Eastern kind of viewpoint, or Eastern medicine on the different body types that we are. And do you want to explain those a little bit? So there's these things called doshas. You can go ahead and explain.
There's 3 doshas, and everybody is some combination of the 3. Whether you're very dominant on one, or just have a little bit of the other 2, or if you're dominant on 2. Everybody is some combination of these 3, which thereby proves that everyone's body is essentially their own and inherently different from everyone else's, because it's all like a sliding scale. I am a dominant vata, which is one of the 3 doshas, and learning about what diets this dosha should eat to keep their mind and their body in balance really brought to light the kinds of foods I found myself craving. It's interesting, I've always felt very grounded by eating like lots of warm foods, lots of carbohydrates, lots of soups, things that are just very warm and hearty. And you go through life thinking, oh, this is just like what I like to eat, this is just what I enjoy, I like to eat pasta. And then reading more about Ayurveda, I'm realizing that this is what makes my dosha feel the most in balance. It made everything click. It was so interesting.
I love. So what about going into what the other ones are?
Oh yeah, so the other 2 are Pitta, which is considered, the middle dosha. It's people that tend to be medium build. Maybe they have a lighter skin, lighter hair. They have a lot of fire inside them, whether that's digestive power or fiery personalities. And these people, because they tend to run hot, they benefit from eating more cooling foods, foods that might be raw, raw salads and cool iced teas, these sorts of things that can help temper the fire inside of them. And then the 3rd dosha is Kapha, and I think there's a lot of misunderstanding regarding the Kapha dosha. Do you agree?
Yeah.
People say, oh, Kapha people are overweight. And that's not really the case. It's that when each dosha is out of balance, certain qualities emerge. When the vata is out of balance, they might have anxiety or insomnia. And when the kapha is out of balance, those people tend to gain weight. It's not that they naturally are overweight, it's just that's the bodily reaction to being out of balance. And so kapha diets tend to skew towards the lighter side of things, and foods that don't weigh them down so much, but at the same time make them feel grounded, because kapha is a very even-tempered dosha. These people tend to be very stable. They might be peacemakers, very much someone you can rely on, and they have a lot of warmth inside them, and in a maternal way almost.
Do you find that since you've been studying this, that you naturally, whether you go through this with a new client that you're working with, or whether it's just through observation. Because I mean, a lot of these things, when you start to know these different doshas, you can kind of just spot a person and say, that's that's them. And because it is kind of like their features and the characteristics about their body and essence and skin color and, you know, ways and interactions. But do you find that you start to cook just naturally a little bit more catered to that?
Yes, absolutely. You know, as you're saying this, I'm thinking of a specific, you know, person I've been working with who, you know, is someone who struggles with keeping weight on. They're, you know, I'm guessing very much a Vata. Vatas, when under stress, can tend to lose weight, and, you know, they wanted to eat healthy, but in their mind that meant, you know, like cutting out carbs and dairy, and, you know, they thought this was the best way to be healthy, and it absolutely can be, but
not for them.
They were struggling with keeping weight on. You know, they were rapidly losing weight, and, you know, starting to reintroduce more grains and carbohydrates, more rices and pastas and dairy, you know, whether it's butter or ghee or coconut oil, all these added fats and carbohydrates just really not only help to have a Vata feel grounded, but also can help them gain weight again.
Yeah. And did you notice this person starting to shift and change?
Yeah, you know, the biggest difference I noticed is that they wanted to eat.
Oh.
You know, they started to approach, you know, I got a text like, oh, they ate the biggest meal they've eaten in 2 weeks, you know. And so, you know, that desire to eat again is, it can be reignited, you know. Vatas definitely struggle with a loss of appetite sometimes when out of balance. And so finding the foods that they genuinely want to eat can be very helpful.
Okay, and what about some other case studies that you can kind of share? Because I mean, this is great. I mean, I hope everybody's learning from this, because it's not about, you know, oh, I want, you know, this is the correct diet, or this fad diet, or this way, or these healthy foods are right for me. And it's not to say that they're wrong, like you're saying, but in this particular case with this client, the person that you're working with, you know, having the salads and the lighter foods were no problem getting them to eat it, but they needed some more grounding, warm, hearty foods to kind of bring them back into their body and centered. And for them, what might be perceived in you know, mass society, oh, pastas are bad and will make you fat, or whatever the case may be, like it's everything's about balance and about where you're at and who you are and your life and your body. And, you know, I think that that's like the biggest theme or takeaway that I'm hearing here, is that we're all individual and unique, and that finding out what we need at different times. In this particular client, maybe they need a lot of grounding, warm foods now and they get back in balance, but maybe then they need something a little lighter, or something, you know, so things change over time. What's good for you today might not be good for you tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
And so what are some other people and situations that you've worked with, so we can give the listeners even more like tangible and graspable?
Well, my boyfriend is actually a really great example.
Okay.
And hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing stuff. He's definitely like a pizza body type. So you know, he has a very, you know, medium build and you know, light skin, but he has like the Kapha personality, very even temper, very stable and calming. Anyways, so his body, you know, he definitely, I think, thrives best when eating more of a pitta diet. So that would mean, you know, a lot of raw foods. He was a vegan for many years, and he's gradually, you know, made his way back to being a pescatarian. But I know he feels best when he's eating like highly vegetarian foods, you know, so not just vegetarian but also raw foods. You know, whenever he eats raw vegan foods or raw meals, he always talks about how much energy he feels and how it's like, I had this raw vegan dinner, no, it's 10 o'clock at night, but I'm wide awake now. You know, I have all this energy. It's just like, it creates a spark inside of them. And that's a very Pitta-like thing, to thrive off of cooling foods that, you know, the Pittas have, like I mentioned, very strong digestive power. So they are able to process these raw foods, whereas the other doshas might have trouble processing so much raw food. You know, I know if I eat a ton of, you know, raw kale, it doesn't sit especially well because I don't have that digestive power within me. But he definitely feels best when he's eating, you know, tons of vegetables, lots of raw foods, lots of cooling foods. He is the biggest green smoothie person I know in the entire world. You know, he literally drinks them every single day, sometimes multiple times a day. And eating all, like, just like packing his body full of these raw ingredients just makes him thrive, and it makes him glow all day.
Great. And in that, because I know a little bit about Ayurvedic and the different doshas and things like that, do you find that that he gets a little bogged down when he eats a lot of root vegetables?
Well, I think things that are more starchy and have all that, root vegetables have a lot of sugar in them. You know, that's what makes them so delicious and sweet when they're roasted, is like all that sugar has come out and caramelized. And that can definitely weigh down someone like that, for sure.
Yeah, and then just I hear that, you know, there's kind of like a dynamic, or saying like where the vegetables grow and how they grow kind of can correlate to the different doshas too. Things that are really high up, and then things that are like medium into the ground, and things that are lower, you know, are different, you know.
I like that. I haven't heard that. That's really great.
All right. So, what else? What else would you like to share on food and nutrition? You know.
Well, something that I really believe is, you know, food is an aspect of the answer, but it's not the full answer. You know, you can be eating really, really, really healthy, but if you're not taking care of yourself in other ways, you're not gonna feel the effects, whether you're not sleeping enough or you're not exercising or moving your body enough, or if you're not just like treating yourself with everyday kindness, you know, being easy on yourself. I struggle with this a lot. You know, I can be very hard on myself. I can beat myself up a lot about what I'm doing, or more often what I'm not doing. Yeah. You know, like I said, I struggle with a lack of energy sometimes, and it leads to me wishing like I was able to do more, and to honestly just giving yourself a break every once in a while or every day, I think allows people to be more relaxed about what they're putting in their bodies, or you know, it can give them a more grounded mindset. You know, if you're always so hard on yourself about what you're eating or what you're not eating, you know, you might not see results because you're kind of you're not putting that love into yourself.
Totally. It's so important to have a balance in all aspects of your life, and, you know, the food, diet, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, having this collective umbrella of aspects. There's a thing in psychology called the wheel of life, and you make it like spokes, and so if you cut it into, you know, 4 lines going through, so it's 8 spokes, you have these different areas of your life, and people are supposed to rate it, you know, like on a scale of 0's in the middle and 8's on the end, 10's on the end, and you rate and you say, okay, well, you know, my personal life is a 4, or my health is this, and my finances are this, and my spirituality, and you look through these different things, and the whole dynamic of it is that, you know, you connect the dots like a little puzzle, or they connect the dots when you're a kid, and if the wheel doesn't roll, you know, if it doesn't turn, it means that you're probably going to hit a problem in your life very soon. You're going to get stuck. There's going to be some circumstances or situation that needs to unfold, and that's kind of like what you're saying. If people are really good with just diet, well, then they're missing something else. Or some people are really good with working out, but then they're horrible with what they eat. They go work out and then they have a big pie afterwards or something like that, or totally not in balance there, or are up all hours of the night and hardly sleeping 4 hours, and and it's about having this synergy of balance, because even if you're doing one area right, if some of the areas you're not putting attention and focus to, your wheel's not going to be rolling.
I like that a lot. It also reminds me of something someone recently said to me, along the same lines. They said, there's all these aspects in your life, you have your career, and you have your family, and you have your romantic life, and you have your social life, and you have your financial life, and, there's all these, personal development, all these different aspects that make up your life. And, this person said to me, it's important to remember that those things aren't all going to be in line. There's always going to be something you feel that might be lacking, and that's going to shift and change. Maybe you get this amazing job, but then suddenly you feel like your spiritual life is unattended to. Things are always shifting, and it's not always going to be in balance, and recognizing that there are going to be aspects that feel lacking at any point in time
and there's always ups and downs, as they say, when the little machine that when you go flatline, that's where you don't want to be. But the ups and downs, then that means that you're living. That means that you're growing and experiencing. I know that you spend a lot of time talking about that. Everybody in every body is different, and that to eat for who you are and what you need at the time of which you need it is a big theme of this talk. But do you find that there's certain things that all people benefit from including a little bit more into their daily or weekly diets?
Well, I'm a big fan of Michael Pollan, and his basic theory is, that everyone should be eating more plants and eating a little less in general of everything, So I definitely think that everybody can incorporate more plant-based foods into their diets. It doesn't matter whether you're trying to push the protein or trying to push the carbohydrates. Everybody could use more plants in their diet. I don't know anybody who eats enough vegetables for themselves. Everybody could always be adding more. It is by far the best way to provide your body with vitamins and minerals. Sure, it's easier to just take a multivitamin every day, but it's not going to provide your body with the right kind of nutrition. You need to be gradually adding in vitamins and minerals throughout the day, not just one bam shot of it, at one point of the day, and then go eat a Big Mac for the rest of the day. So I strongly believe everybody should be eating more vegetables. And I do not eat enough. Every day I could be eating more.
Well, you said everybody, so I'm guessing everybody includes you.
Absolutely. There are days when I barely eat any vegetables, and, you always just need to be pushing it. And furthermore, buying vegetables from sources that feel good to you, whether it's from your farmer's market or growing them yourself. My dad has an amazing garden, and he always is growing amazing vegetables, and I'll eat his vegetables, and they taste, vegetables straight from the ground taste like candy. It's true. He says that he said that someone said to him, if children could eat vegetables that were straight out of the ground, they would actually enjoy it. Before I went to college, I had this really formative experience where I worked on a fruit and vegetable farm outside of the town I grew up in, and to see these fruits and vegetables and plants being grown and taken from, the dirt to the markets, and the whole process in between was one of the most formative experiences for me.
And on that note, I think that a lot of people don't realize how good plants and vegetables taste. Would you agree? You know, you're saying about like your father having this notion that more kids would eat vegetables if it came straight from the ground, but I think that more people would. I mean, the majority of the produce that people buy at the commercial grocery stores are ripened within a truck, right? So I mean, these fruits and vegetables and leafy greens and stuff like that, they're picked weeks prior. They're sitting in a cargo, in a cargo load. Maybe they got imported from a different country. They're on a pallet. That trip took a couple weeks to get here. Then they get moved over into a truck, and then they sit in a warehouse, and then they finally unpack them. And for all intents and purposes, how much nutrition are these vegetables having in them, but also the flavor. I mean, because the flavor comes from, when you let something ripen, right? I don't know if anybody that's listening, if you ever had the privilege of going to, maybe an apple orchard or something where you can just pull something fresh off of a tree. Or eat berries that are vine ripened, and or what. And when you eat them like that, it's so good.
Absolutely.
And they taste so much different than if you have those ones that got picked and then slowly over time they ripen. It's not quite the same. It's like pumping that nutrients and those delicious flavors through. So I think what you were saying about if people could find and go to more farmers markets or find a way to grow some of their own things, they would actually be amazed at how good things taste. I had somebody one time, they said they didn't like tomatoes. And I was like, I love tomatoes. Well, I've never met a vegetable I don't like. So I love all vegetables, and we grew up and my dad had a huge garden, and I grew up in a farmland in Wisconsin. So, fruits and vegetables were a big thing for us. And this person had only had store-bought tomatoes, and we went and got some heirloom tomatoes from the farmer's market, and they couldn't believe that was a tomato.
And that it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially not even the same thing. When you get those tomatoes that are almost white inside and have that strange mealy texture, I feel like you shouldn't even be allowed to sell fruit that's not in season. Yeah. It's doing such a disservice to the people who are eating it, thinking that this is what that vegetable tastes like. And furthermore, it takes away from the great seasonal produce available. This happens every single year. Every single year as the seasons change, I am more and more amazed at just, and we're very spoiled in Southern California, but very amazed at, the different fruits and vegetables that come into season and come out every single month. And, like I said, we're very spoiled here because we have extended growing seasons and pretty much everything is available. But, you can still see it in all areas of the country. Just eating seasonally is the best way to treat your body right and to have it taste great. You're not gonna... If you're eating tomatoes in the middle of January, then you're ignoring, all the great squash and root vegetables that are available. And the tomato's definitely not even going to taste that great.
Oh, this whole thing has been so great. Is there anything, as we're wrapping up, that you would like to leave anybody with? Like a bit of wisdom, a bit of, whatever you would like to share?
I'll just leave with a little trick that I've been really into, like a little cooking trick.
Oh, yeah. Come on, we need cooking tricks. Come on.
It's not even a trick. It's like the littlest, miniest. I don't really believe in straight recipes, where you measure everything out. I cook more intuitively. And anyways, I've been really into mushrooms lately. Okay. All sorts of mushrooms. And basically, if you take mushrooms and if you fry them, not deep fry, just pan fry them in coconut oil, but it has to be the coconut oil that's flavored. Okay. That's scented, actually it smells like a coconut. Yeah. Yeah. If you pan fry them in coconut oil until they're really brown and crispy, and then sprinkle them with sea salt. I prefer Himalayan pink salt because of all the minerals. It is so good. I don't know what the combination of the
coconut with the salt,
coconut with the earthy mushroom taste with the salt is. Honestly, they taste like little bits of mushroom candies.
It's simple. It's simple,
so easy.
and it's delicious. I'm sure that it's delicious, and all different types of it. But that's the beauty of when you get good quality things. You don't need to have like all of this.
Yes.
You know, you don't need to do a million things. A little sea salt and sautéing them, and
so good. I often make it to put on salads or soups, and then they don't really make it to the salad or the soup because
they make it all in your mouth.
They literally taste like candy. It is by far like the best way to eat mushrooms, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm gonna have to try that. So Talia, where can people find you? So I'm sure that if people have any questions, want to get a hold of you, I know that you have an Instagram if you want to share that, a website, whatever, and so that people can find and locate you.
Yeah, well, one of the best places to see all the food that I create and also the food I eat at other places is my Instagram. The handle is Tall Food Killa. So it's kind of confusing, but TAL Food Killa, KILLAH.
All right.
Or you can just go to my website, which is my name, www.taliastife.com, where you can also see my portfolio and how to contact me.
I love it. Okay, thank you so much for joining, and everybody that's listening, please, if you enjoyed this episode, give us a review on iTunes. It really helps for more people to find us. The more reviews we have, the more iTunes kind of just puts us up a little higher in the searchability there. And so 5 stars is great. Go feel free to leave whatever you'd like, though. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.